With the announcement of Skyward Sword HD back in February, fans have been eagerly speculating what enhancements will be made to warrant buying a 10-year-old game for $60. Some of these include Fi learning how to shut up, not having the intro last 20 hours, being less linear, more places to go in the sky, not having to fight the imprisoned 3 times, not running out of stamina after running 2 feet, and most of all, not getting the same notification every time you pick up a material. But given Nintendo's recent track record, the most they've probably done is change the controls out of necessity and called it a day. Granted, Zelda's had a pretty good track record in this department, so maybe I should be a bit more optimistic. My point is, there's a lot of potential to make Skyward Sword into something greater, and the ball is entirely in Nintendo's court for how they want to handle that. However, ignoring all the complaints I just listed, there's still one aspect of this game that has haunted it ever since release and has seemingly gone unnoticed by both Nintendo and the community. Link's lips. These things have been so ingrained in my mind that anytime someone makes so much as a passing comment about Skyward Sword, it's all I can think about. I can't tell if I'm going mental or I secretly have a thing for dudes with juicy blowjob lips, but this is an issue that needs to be fixed now. Not just for my sake, but for Link's as well. Let's run down the list for why these things suck. Firstly, they're way too refined. Looking at literally every other iteration of Link, you can see the developers had a pattern of giving him lips that actually correlated with his face. Even when his mouth became a model instead of a texture, it still fit his overall design like in Twilight Princess. But here, they decided to give Link some lip implants, so he looks like a goldfish with anime girl eyes. As a result, this takes a toll on Link's facial expressions, especially during cutscenes. Whenever he does something besides blankly staring off into the distance, it looks incredibly uncanny and off-putting. It's a shame too, because for the most part, Link actually knows what expressions are in this game, instead of just awkwardly standing around as he's fed exposition. I mean, it's not Wind Waker level of expression, but it's clear the devs wanted to give Link character. I honestly do really like the art direction of Skyward Sword as a whole. It combines the coloring and tone of Wind Waker with the more realistic set pieces and designs of Twilight Princess. In fact, if I'm being real, this big lip design actually can work for a character like Groose, who's much more cartoony and over the top with his expressions than Link. I mean, the aesthetic still doesn't look great, but out of everyone in the game, Groose is the one who makes it not look great the least. I've actually stumbled across some mods online that fix his lips by doing stuff like recoloring them or making them smaller, which is great. But you know what the funniest part about this is? In both the promotional and box art for this game, he has normal lips. Seriously, look at this. They're not oversized or a different color than his skin tone. They look like the actual lips Link would have if Skyward Sword wasn't made by psychopaths. And because of that, I just had to ask, what happened? Was the art made at an earlier point in the game's development? Did they use a different version of Link as a reference? Or did even the artists themselves see the final version of Link and say, yeah, I'm not drawing that shit? Either way, it's pretty sad to see this and realize what we could have had. I doubt this will turn any heads over at Nintendo, and they probably finished importing the game's emulator onto a Switch cartridge, but I will be damned if that stops me from complaining about arbitrary things in video games. Because the truth is, for all the problems it has, Skyward Sword is a good game. It's nowhere near my favorite Zelda game, hell, it's probably not even in my top 10, but like I said earlier, there's a lot of potential to make it into something greater, which can hopefully change a few perceptions of the game and let people appreciate it more. I mean, look at Wind Waker. That game was hated right out of the gate just cause it looked different. And although people started to warm up to it over the years, by the time the remake rolled around, literally everyone was like, wow, this is actually the best thing ever. Granted, I think Wind Waker's an overall much better game than Skyward Sword, even without regarding the remakes. But still, there's a good chance this can happen just as long as Nintendo plays their cards right. I know it's not healthy to ask anything of Nintendo, but it's like, dude, come on, just this one time. You know, I'm sure even Aonuma looks back at Skyward Sword Link and wants to just reach into the game and violently rip his lips off. Maybe after Breath of the Wild, they remembered how to make a good character design and are ready to use that knowledge once again. I mean, Nintendo said they used the criticisms of Skyward Sword as the building blocks for Breath of the Wild's design. So maybe they can use Breath of the Wild as the building blocks of Skyward Sword HD's design. I don't know, to end the video off, here's a quote from the legendary Fred Durst. I think you better quit. Let the shit slip, or you'll be leaving with a fat lip. There's probably some correlation there. And